Security guard found dead in his car in Simpson Bay. St. Martin epidemiologist updates the community on the field testing and is encouraging the residents to alert volunteers when you see them. But first up, Prime Minister extends a state of emergency for another 3 weeks. Those are the headlines for Monday, April the 20th, 2020. This is SXM Daily News. I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you for joining me. And now for the details. Prime Minister of St. Martin, Mrs. Sylvania Jacobs, has extended the state of emergency for another 3 weeks. This is in accordance with a national decree, and after assessing the statistics, it has been decided by the Prime Minister, who is also the chairperson of the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, that the 3-week extension of the state of emergency for St. Martin, which went into effect on Sunday, April the 19th, will remain in effect until Sunday, May the 10th, with the possibility of extension if necessary.
After assessing the COVID-19 developments and containment measures during the 2-week lockdown period, it was established that although the majority of the population had complied with the regulations set by government, the COVID-19 virus still exists in the territory of St. Martin, and we all still have the responsibility of mitigating the spread. As CPS is actively busy assessing within the community how far this has been spread, we would like to ask the public's total compliance, agreement that this is for their own health, and assist government in mitigating the spread. As such, the new national decree will be for a period of 3 weeks, starting today, April 19th, with a possible extension if necessary. Based on the latest available data and the counts as of April 19th at 1 p.m., that is today, the number of persons in self-quarantine total 98. In self-isolation, 87. Hospitalized is pending. We will be updated later today by St. Martin Medical Center. However, I can give you the amount of persons tested as of today as 225, with 67 positive and 138 negative. 19 tests remain pending, as one inconclusive test. I sadly inform you that a resident of St. Martin, which had been registered with the French side and had traveled to Guadeloupe for further treatment, has in the past few days passed away. That brings our number of residents deceased to 10. We do extend our condolences to each and every person who are dealing with the loss of a loved one, but of course, especially all those dealing with a loss as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. We hope to be able to contain these numbers as well, and so therefore I ask that all persons with symptoms register as soon as possible with your general practitioner, your family doctor, or with CPS at 914. The only way for us to be able to help you is for us to catch it within the first 5 days of the symptoms. Please notify CPS as soon as possible. Call your local doctor so that we can help you to help yourself. Total recovered still stands at 12, and we will continue to assess those persons who are coming to the end of their isolation period. The restriction of a person's freedom of movement remains one of the most effective methods of containing further COVID-19 infections, taking into account the fact that infected persons may be asymptomatic but may infect others, and the limited amount of test kits that are available. Even though I've been apprised by both labs that test kits are coming in and we are not necessarily short at the moment, but cannot test as we would like to, and also because persons are not actually coming forward that are symptomatic, we are actually really encouraging the public of St. Martin to comply with CPS and the community outreach program to assist us in getting our real numbers. In accordance with this new national decree, which I have also released, includes an addendum which tells which essential business and shopping schedules will be taking place as of today. The bijlage, the addendum, allows for essential services to be open to the public 3 days per week, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. The lockdown is still in full effect, and therefore persons who are making use of this service must be that they are really in need of these services. These businesses include supermarkets, grocery stores, bakeries, pharmacies, pharmaceutical suppliers, laboratories, banks, gas stations, including wholesalers, distributors, and retailers of cooking gas. The first hour of shopping, as per usual, starting from 8 to 9 a.m., is reserved for the elderly, disabled, and pregnant women.
The Prime Minister also announced that the public is only allowed to use the essential services in the designated zones in which they live, Zone A and Zone B. She elaborates.
The public is only allowed to make use of the mentioned services in the designated zones in which they live. We have determined that there will be 2 zones which the police will be checking into. This is Zone A, which is east of the Colby Hill, meaning Phillipsburg, Cahill, St. Peter's, South Reward, and everything all the way to Oyster Pond. So that is from Cahill to Oyster Pond. Zone B represents the west of the island, which is from the Colby Hill, Colby, Simpson Bay, Kay Bay, Kupakoy, Lowlands, and Pelican Key as well. So everything extending to our borders to the front side, going from the Colby Hill, is then Zone B. Aside from the reference hours of 8 to 6, deliveries are allowed on the days mentioned above, as well as for the remaining days of the week, excluding Sundays. Sundays will remain a total lockdown day as well. All businesses are to remain closed with the exception of the following essential and emergency services: hotels, guest houses, yachting agents and marinas, which still have guests to tend to, security companies, agriculture, including farmers, fisheries, including fishermen, media outlets, garbage collection and sewage services, and infrastructure management that includes roadside cleaning, which will be determined by the minister on a schedule, funeral services, essential public utility services, postal services of St. Martin, emergency and paramedic services, freight services, shipping and cargo companies, as well as government-owned entities. So I mentioned that these will remain closed, but will be open for the public for emergency services. I mentioned the laboratories in this, but of course, all persons who require medical appointments and need to use the lab are allowed to use the lab. Not on specific days, but during the days of the week, all the days of the week. The following services must remain closed to the public. However, they must remain available in case of emergencies. These are medical practitioners, doctors, doctors' offices, etc., dental clinics, notaries, lawyers, insurance, veterinary clinics, hardware stores for delivery only, electronic stores also for delivery only. And I have also given a call to the owners of Penny's department store, and I would like to include other stores that sell baby products. Several pregnant mothers have sent messages that they're unable to prepare for the coming birth of their children. And so these companies that sell baby products are also, of course, allowed to arrange for delivery. So they will be putting their numbers out, and if it is then necessary for you to purchase for your newborn baby or other essential materials needed for a baby, that this can be done via online ordering, via WhatsApp ordering, and deliveries will be secured. The following companies must remain closed to the public but may provide emergency services to essential and emergency services. Those are restaurants, caterers, commercial laundry services, maintenance and repair services, gas stations, suppliers of cooking gas, and water deliveries. So here you will also notice that some additions have been made based on complaints from the public to ensure that no one, for instance, runs out of water, and that persons with emergency necessary repairs for their cars are able to get this done.
And in more news at this time, the police and ambulance department were called to the Simpson Bay area, where a man was found dead in his car at the Simpson Bay Yacht Club on Sunday evening. in the vicinity of Jimbo's restaurant, the police confirmed. The police were called around 7 p.m. for a man found in an unconscious state in his car at the Simpson Bay Yacht Club. The gentleman was working as a security officer in that area. The police said in a press release on Sunday evening, and SXM Daily News has since learned that he is known only as by Tony, and he hails from Jamaica. According to the police department, there were no signs of violence to the body of the deceased. And according to the police, the doctor pronounced him dead on the scene. Cause of death is still unknown. There is no more information available at the moment. And in more news regarding the government stimulus plan at this time, the Princess Juliana International Airport, Port St. Martin, and national airline Winair are set to receive payroll support for their staff as part of the St. Martin Stimulus Relief Plan, SSRP, which goes into effect this month. These companies are set to receive assistance because their income is expected to be drastically affected as a result of the lockdown due to the current coronavirus COVID-19 crisis. Government-owned utilities companies GEBE and TLM are not expected to be as severely affected and have not been identified to receive support. The SSRP says the airport operating company, PJIAE, was expected to recover its business to an estimated level of 85% this year and start its reconstruction program after the devastation of the 2017 hurricanes. However, this is being delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. PJIA prepared a crisis program which includes drastic trimmings of costs and bridging the crisis period, zero business with available reserves and funds. The company has approximately 270 employees with a payroll cost of 2.3 million guilders per month. As of mid-March, the airport's revenues were expected to have been completely depleted, whilst the majority of the operational expenses were expected to continue. And still to come, a member of the anti-poverty platform says their coalition has 17 sustainable goals. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
This is SXM Daily News, and as we continue at this time, at the EOC's press conference on Friday last, April the 17th, 2020, epidemiologist for St. Martin, Eva Lista de Wever, announced the latest assistance that arrived from the Netherlands, and she welcomes the additional staffing support. She is also encouraging those that are symptomatic to alert volunteers when you see them in your neighborhood. The aim, according to the epidemiologist, is to find persons early on.
To contain the epidemic, we continue to focus our resources and our efforts on the backbone of our response, which is isolating, testing, and contact tracing. I also wanted to inform listeners that CPS has received additional staffing support from the Netherlands, and we welcome Jane van Ommen, who is a public health nurse in Utrecht, and she will be assisting CPS in the field. So we are also currently working with volunteers to actively canvass neighborhoods to identify persons who are displaying any flu-like signs and symptoms. The reason we're doing this work and going into the community is to make the testing more accessible, to make the process more efficient, and to reach as many people as we can. I encourage persons who are symptomatic to either alert volunteers when you see them in your neighborhood or to call your doctor or 914. And I would like to just reiterate that please do not hesitate to do so. We're there to, as the Prime Minister said, find persons early on, and the sooner we identify cases or suspected cases, the sooner we can contain further transmission and ensure that persons receive proper care and follow-up. I also want to reiterate that testing is free of charge and your information will remain confidential and used only for health reasons and not shared broadly beyond CPS and your doctor. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the volunteers and the staff of CPS who over the past couple of days and weeks have been out in the neighborhoods gathering information on the front line. Once the next neighborhood is identified, we will be sure to broadcast this via the government channels and various outlets. And I would also like to take this opportunity again to remind everyone of the importance of continuing to practice social distancing, cough and sneeze etiquette, and hand washing, as these are the most effective ways of reducing exposure and transmission. For healthy people who choose to wear a mask, it's important that you also adhere to proper hand hygiene. If you choose to wear a mask, clean your hands with soap and water or alcohol. Properly cover your mouth and nose with the mask and make sure that there are no gaps between your face and the mask. Avoid touching the mask when you're using it. And if you do happen to touch your mask, make sure to clean your hands. It's also important that you replace the mask frequently. So as soon as it's damp, replace it, and you don't reuse the mask. If it's single-use mask, you have to dispose of that. And it's equally important to make sure that you're actually removing the mask in a proper way as well. So not touching the front of the mask, but removing it from behind. And when you do remove it, immediately discard it and throw it in a closed bin.
And as we continue with more news at this time, to reduce the inequality that members of the Anti-Poverty Platform and the Consumers Coalition are feeling as a result of this pandemic, members of the platform, Claire Alshot, says that the coalition has 17 sustainable development goals that has to be accomplished by 2030. Mrs. Alshot was at the time speaking at a weekly press briefing on Thursday last, April the 16th, 2020.
The 17 Sustainable Development Goals that has to be accomplished by 2030. So 10 years is left from now to be able to accomplish that. However, as a Consumers Coalition partner and rep and coordinator in that platform, I would like to emphasize that the Sustainable Development Goal number 1 places emphasis on the eradication of poverty, not alleviation, the eradication of poverty. Sustainable Development Goal number 2 places emphasis on zero hunger. Sustainable Development Goal number 3 of good health and well-being. Number 6, the Sustainable Development Goal there is talking about clean water and sanitation. Number 7 is talking about affordable and clean energy. Number 8 is talking about decent work and economic growth. And here I would like to pause. If the Sustainable Development Goal is speaking about decent work and economic growth, how is it possible then that the workers, all the workers of Atrium Resort, can receive a letter where they are all being dismissed? Which means at a given moment, the economic growth of and well-being of the workers has not been taken into consideration, and therefore I do not believe that I'll be out of order to make again a strong appeal to the Shatta, the Indian merchants, the Marine Trade Association, and all those that represent the workers' organization to come together and again teach or administer the different precautions to their members or non-members, but also part of this society, for them to be able to do the rightful things. Then I will continue that the Sustainable Development Goal number 10 speaks of the reduced inequality. The Sustainable Development Goal 11 speaks of sustainable cities and communities. And basically, we have just noticed that this pandemic is not only something that has affected St. Martin, but the whole world. So therefore, our recommendations would have to also be in line with what is happening in the kingdom and in the world. So we are, as our brother Yizarun already noted, we have seen the stimulus packages that have been offered in the Netherlands, and we feel again that there is a great inequality to what has been subscribed in the this Sustainable Development Goal.
Now, turning to our weather forecast for April the 20th, 2020. A surge of moisture associated with a weak surface trough may cause a few passing showers across the region in the afternoon. Relatively drier conditions will prevail by tomorrow. Meanwhile, a weak Atlantic high-pressure system will maintain a gentle to moderate wind flow through the next few days. Seas will remain slight to moderate during the next few days. Now, let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Minister of Finance says SZV will manage the payroll support program. We'll have a detail to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
And in other news at this time, it has been decided by Minister of Finance, Mr. Adwell Irion, that our social and health insurance provider, SZV, has been designated as the entity to manage the payroll support program of the St. Martin Stimulus and Relief Plan, SSRP, from government. Minister of Finance Adwell Irion has announced in a press release late last night that SZV has been entrusted by government to execute the COVID-19 stimulus payroll support plan on its behalf. Employers who want to apply for the payroll support plan must have an active account for SZV's employer portal. This form will be accessible via SZV employer portal as of Tuesday, April the 21st, 2020. Employers who would like to make use of the payroll support plan or the lockdown payroll support plan are urged to read the detailed information on the COVID-19 stimulus payroll support plan at www.ssrp.sx. They should register for an account for the SZV employer portal via www.szv.sx and start gathering all supporting documents, according to an article in the Daily Herald of Monday, April the 20th, 2020. And as we continue now with more news, Mrs. Claire Elshot, member of the Anti-Poverty Platform, says that looking at the Caribbean economy and St. Martin in particular, which has a one-pillar economy, they, as the Consumers Coalition, are therefore demanding and imploring the government what has to be done for the people of this country. She said these things have to be taken into consideration.
When we look at the Caribbean, and especially at St. Martin, our one pillar that we would deal with is tourism and services. So basically, we are therefore, again, as unions, demanding, as Consumers Coalition, imploring that what has to be done for the people of this country to make sure that they can live up to certain things, that these things are taken into consideration. Structural dialogue also should be forthcoming with the unions. We have noticed that in all this pandemic, you have AOC 5, AOC 6, AOC 7, AOC 8. Our Prime Minister have not used the opportunity to AOC the unions and to also have a live stream or also, to also contact and talk about it. We also notice that a lot of people have been complaining about the cost of living, especially now with this pandemic. Seemingly, when they complain and say that the prices have just gone from one day to the next, they've gone up. A pack of eggs is now $4. You get the simple excuse from the different departments that have to control, oh, it went up on the international market, so that's why it got up here. A lot of the things that have been in stock and that we can use locally, they are not being used. We just have, as people, without basically the basic liquidity, we have to make to buy the things at the price that the supermarket, especially when you are now forced to shop in your area where you cannot even make use of, let's say, specials or any benefits that are being granted by other different supermarkets.
And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, WHO Director General, says, let's not focus on the numbers. He was referring to the number of people that have died from COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Ghebreyesus says that they are real people. Let's not track them into numbers. He knows war. He knows how people suffer. This virus is dangerous. He elaborates.
But what I am saying is, let's believe that behind those 100,000, there are 100,000 people, faces. The mother of somebody, the father of somebody, the daughter of somebody, and the son of somebody, or the grandfather of someone. These are real people. Let's not trash them into numbers. I know war. I know how people suffer. And from that war, when a loved one, I know poverty. And I know people who died of poverty, and I know how their family or loved ones feel about that. I know disease that could be prevented, that killed people. And I know how the family feels. When we think about death or disease, I was saying let's bring into account that these are real people.
And this brings us to the end of SXM Daily News for this evening. I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you for joining me. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.